Bryce, congratulations.
Thank you.
As I was just telling you, I loved the movie.
Thank you.
Tell me about just the joy of being part of this wonderful movie.
I mean, it's such a privilege to be a part of telling Elton John's story, and especially because Elton John is alive and well and a part of this. And we're living in a time now where people are waking up to the fact that it is really important that we let people tell their own stories and their own way, and we believe that. And that is the case with this film. I mean, he was involved in developing this for years and years and years, and I mean, I think that it's I can't imagine what it was like for him and Bernie to sit and watch it at the Cannes Film Festival and hearing their music tell the story of their lives. I mean, it's just unreal.
And Cannes, you guys got a standing ovation after the movie. What was that moment like?
It was for me personally, this is really special because I got to witness the dedication that Taron has and had, and the incredible heart and talent that Dexter put into this film. And so to get to see them so emotional and Elton emotional, and to get to kind of be a fly on the wall a little bit is really memorable and amazing, because you're seeing people receive acknowledgement, and in a way, like when you're at Cannes and like everyone's like clapping, you can't, even if you're somewhere you're like, you can't do it. Like at a certain point, it's like 4 minutes long, you got to be like, thank you, and to see someone, so Taron's a very humble person. He's very, he works very hard. He's someone who does not have an inflated ego in the least. And so it's beautiful to see someone like that get to be acknowledged, so it's great.
When did you first meet Elton?
I met Elton 4 days ago.
Wow.
For the first time.
4 days
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah, right before the photo call at Cannes.
So did you never got to speak to him about his mum?
Mm-mm.
Because, I mean, his childhood, we learned so much about how hard he had it as a little boy growing up. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah. It's really heartbreaking. Of course, he was really involved in the script, and also he had shared with Taron all of his diaries and his autobiography. Wow. Taron was the only one who read it. And so there were a lot of insights to glean from that. But I wanted to talk to people because I knew he had been involved in the depiction of I knew that he knew how she was being depicted and on the page. And I kind of assumed that she was being vilified. And
that was my next question.
Yeah, so I talked to a lot of people who knew her independently of production, and I spoke with them on a confidential basis. And what I heard was worse.
Really?
It was really bad. And to the point where actually I called one of my friends who's a psychiatrist, and I was like, can you tell me what was wrong? Because something mentally was really, really off. It's like, okay, if you're resentful, you're angry, it's dysfunctional, all right. But then it crosses to a point where you're like, this person is not well. They're like the things they're saying and yeah.
How many years ago did she pass away?
It was just a couple of years ago, I think. Maybe,
just
recently.
A few years ago. It's hard. You just can't believe. You just think this woman cannot be this bad. I mean, thank goodness for Grandma.
Yeah. Nan was a really big deal. I think that Elton experienced in his life a broad spectrum of love and appreciation, from his parents who really didn't show him love and affection. And
because his dad was no better.
No, his dad never hugged him, ever, to this day. And it was something that, with Nan in his life, played by Gemma Jones brilliantly.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
Yeah, and with Bernie Taupin in his life, played by Jamie Bell, those
That's
were his
where he got his
examples
love.
of love
Yeah.
and what healthy, unconditional love looked like. And, it was this very polarizing experience for him. And I think that he teetered that line. And then finally, when he took steps toward his recovery, that's when he accepted the fact that he was worth loving and loving himself and being loved by someone healthy and constructive.
And for you as an actress and a loving mum, how is it playing a character like that? Because I can imagine in some ways it's kind of delicious, but then when it's a real person,
yes,
does that kind of change it?
That's exactly it. It's like when you're playing the scenes that are kind of fun, and there's a personality that's a little.
Because she's a great character.
Yes, yeah. And apparently she was really charismatic and witty, quick sense of humor, very cutting sense of humor. That is kind of fun to play. But then when it gets to scenes that are very real, and that these are real words that were spoken, and you're looking into the eyes of someone who's really taking it, like, Taron was, things like he was an only child. And she said to him many times that the biggest mistake of her life was having children. And she meant it. And so those are painful things to recreate.
Breaks my heart.
It's
insane. Just sitting here hearing you talk about it. You've been so brave and inspiring how you've spoken out about postpartum depression and how you suffered with that. What made you want to open up and share that?
Well, I didn't necessarily. Actually, the reason why I shared what I went through was because Gwyneth Paltrow was just starting Goop at the time. I had my son in 2007, and this was in 2008, I think, when she started Goop. And she had suffered from postnatal depression with her second child. And we had the same publicist. And so she knew that I was, that what I had gone through, and asked if I would be willing to write something. And she really, honestly, supported me through that process, because I was led to insight while I was writing it. Like I came to certain realizations when it was happening, and like when I was actually like putting it down on the paper, and I was like, oh, it started to work itself out, and was very healing and as a step for me, and it's something that I think that's kind of interesting with this as well, is because it's like there's in telling your story in a way that is like not the story that you wanted to have to tell. It's very freeing, and it's very empowering, and it's encouraging often to others. I mean, the reason,
very encouraging.
Like, I was so encouraged by Brooke Shields' book. When I read her book, I was like, okay, all right, there's
to know that
path.
somebody else
yes,
is going through that
you're
too.
not completely alone.
Especially back then, because so now lots more people are talking about it.
Yeah, thank God, yeah.
But back then, they weren't
so
really.
Weird.
Yeah.
So weird how backwards we were just a short while ago. But yes, no, it's I mean, it's the power of Elton John is in his courage and in his willingness to be publicly self-expressive and vulnerable and open to criticism, and just bravely himself. And it's extraordinary in the process of making this how generous he was, that he didn't interfere. He was an incredible collaborator. And, I mean, you hear about him and Bernie writing songs, that they write songs in totally separate places, independently of one another. Bernie does his lyrics and Elton does the music. You can understand why he was comfortable enough to really give that space.
Yeah.
But I respect that.
Want more extra? Hit the subscribe button and the bell and never miss a video.